Hey everyone, I'm Nate. And look, I have a bit of a confession to make today, and I am really hoping I'm not the only one who does this. I have this incredibly embarrassing problem. Basically, I giggle at the absolute worst possible times. If I get bad news, I can feel this weird smile creeping up my face. If a totally random stranger stares at me on the subway, I let out this awkward, breathy chuckle. For the longest time, I honestly thought something was just fundamentally broken in my brain. So I decided to play neurodetective. For today's explainer, we're going to use me as a quirky case study to figure out what exactly is wrong with me, and maybe what's going on with you too. Let's get right into it. To kick off our investigation, we have to ask the ultimate awkward question. Why on earth do we laugh at funerals? I mean, it sounds completely heartless, right? You're standing there, people around you are weeping, and suddenly you feel this uncontrollable urge to snicker. It's awful. But when you actually look at the psychology behind it, standing there dry-eyed versus giggling doesn't mean you're some kind of monster who's grieving the wrong way. It actually means your brain is executing a highly sophisticated, completely automatic defense protocol. To make this super simple, and maybe a little bit funny, nervous laughter is basically the brain's way of deploying a confused clown to fight a raging fire. Think about it. When your mind is faced with this overwhelming inferno of stress, anxiety, or trauma, it literally doesn't know what to do. So it panics. It hits the big red button and sends in the clown. It acts as an emotional pressure valve. The outward expression of a laugh completely doesn't match the inner pain you're feeling, but it's just your nervous system desperately stepping in to prevent a total emotional collapse. Okay, let's dive into this and actually separate the good stuff from the awkward stuff. On one hand, we have regular laughter. This is the good stuff, right? It's caused by a hilarious joke, genuine amusement, joy, all of that. But on the other hand, we have my personal nemesis, nervous laughter. This one is triggered by anxiety, tension, confusion, or just deep, deep discomfort. One comes from genuinely feeling good, and the other is a frantic last-ditch attempt by your body to start feeling good when absolutely everything around you is going wrong. Now get this. I found a statistic that absolutely blew my mind. According to University of Maryland neuroscientist Robert Provine, who actually studied over 1,200 unique episodes of laughter, 80% of laughs are not a response to an intentional joke. 80%. Finding this out was a massive relief for me, honestly. It means that the vast majority of human laughter isn't even about humor at all. It's a social and psychological tool. We're laughing to regulate ourselves and our environments, not just because someone told a killer knock-knock joke. Right, so how does this actually explain my completely weird subway giggles? Well, it comes down to something called the spotlight effect. This is our natural psychological tendency to drastically overestimate just how much other people are noticing us. When someone looks at you, it triggers this intense anxiety of being watched. Humans have this perceptual quirk. It's kind of like a leftover predator radar system that makes us incredibly fast at detecting a single pair of eyes fixed on us in a crowded room. Suddenly, your anxiety spikes, and boom, out comes the confused clown. And this explains exactly why stares totally freak us out. Our brains are ancient, and they categorize stares instantly without us even trying. Take a hard, unblinking, dominant stare. Your brain interprets that as a high threat. It is literally screaming predator or rival. On the flip side, if someone is just zoning out with a blank stare, your brain registers confusion and stress because it simply cannot read their intentions. Either way, whether it's aggressive or just blank, your ancient survival alarms are blaring. Let's track what's happening under the hood when this short-circuits our bodies. It happens in 3 lightning-fast steps. Step 1, your prefrontal cortex tries to assess the context of the situation. Step 2, your amygdala, which is your brain's primary threat detector, screams that you are in danger or under immense stress. And finally, step 3, to stop you from completely freezing up or having a full-blown meltdown, the motor areas in your brainstem physically trigger the vocalization and the irregular breathing of a laugh. It's literally an involuntary reflex that hijacks your entire body. But why choose laughter as the defense mechanism? Neuroscientist V.S. Ramatranan from Gresham College has a fascinating theory on this. He suggests we laugh nervously because we are quite literally trying to trick ourselves. We use laughter to make ourselves believe that the horrible thing we just encountered isn't actually as horrible as it appears. We are faking it to our own nervous system, convincing ourselves that the threat is totally harmless just so we can keep functioning. And this behavior goes way, way back in our history. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar points out that laughter is derived from primate play faces. When monkeys play, they open their mouths, but they cover their teeth to signal submissiveness and safety. So, it turns out when I giggle awkwardly on the train, I'm not broken at all. I'm just acting like a stressed out primate. I am subconsciously signaling to the scary stranger, hey, look, I'm submissive or safe, please do not eat me. Yale researcher Dr. Oriana Aragon calls this phenomenon dimorphous expressions. Basically, imagine an emotional seesaw. When you have a massive spike of internal negative stress on one side, your body throws a sudden, positive outward expression on the completely opposite side to balance it out. Just like crying tears of joy when you're overwhelmed with happiness, laughing at a tragedy is your body's desperate attempt to balance that emotional seesaw so you don't snap under the intense pressure. And you know what? The brain does this for one simple reason. It works. Laughter is like a giant biological reset button for your anxiety. Robin Dunbar notes that laughter actually activates pain-killing endorphin receptors in the brain. It triggers rhythmic contractions of your diaphragm, it oxygenates your blood, and it completely plummets the levels of your stress hormone, cortisol. Your brain is forcing you to laugh because it knows you urgently need that chemical relief. But let's be real for a second and look at the downside here. When the clown shows up, it can absolutely ruin a social interaction. In the famous 1960s Stanley Milgram experiments, participants were ordered to give electric shocks to strangers. Obviously, it was incredibly distressing, and many participants actually started laughing uncontrollably while inflicting the pain. Just imagine how terrible that looks from the outside. If you laugh while giving bad news, or you laugh when your boss is yelling at you, people assume you're mocking them. It creates some pretty severe, sometimes relationship-ending misunderstandings. So how do we actually tame this inner clown? Well, you can't totally erase a hardwired biological reflex, but it turns out you can manage it. First, deep diaphragmatic breathing and mindfulness meditation can lower your overall baseline anxiety so that amygdala doesn't trip quite as easily. Second, identifying your triggers, like knowing for a fact you giggle when someone stares, helps you mentally prepare. And finally, improving your social and assertiveness skills gives you much better tools to handle conflict, so you don't have to rely on an awkward primate playface just to survive a staff meeting. So, there you have it. I am not broken, and neither are you. We just happen to have very enthusiastic, slightly confused biological pressure valves keeping us sane. I want to leave you all with this final thought. The next time a stranger locks eyes with you on the train, or life throws a highly stressful moment your way, will you stare back and assert your dominance? Or will you just let the clown out and giggle? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.